or good night. This is Julie with J of Cree Freedom. I want to give the Lord credit today and say thank you to Him for blessing me with the words in my mind that went to my hand and onto the journal and now are in my mouth, and appointing those words this day over the nations and kingdoms of the earth, if they so choose to listen, to uproot and break down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. I'm going to share a really small excerpt from last week. It was like right before the Oscars. And then there's a longer word for this week and also again for Dom. And Chris is also mentioned. So I'll just go ahead and put a link to their channel. Yeah, it is a heavy word. So I'm not going to do much commentary because I don't always know what to say, to be honest. But the Lord does. So we'll listen to His words. So he was talking about the Oscars, and then he said, "Stupid Shiza about to go down in LA, and all for what? The crowning and titles given to a few loony for sex, crazed out of their minds for partying, demonically filled people." Yeah, that was that. So this is from the 17th, and the Lord did encourage me to get some type of oil. So I wanted to go ahead and mention that if you happen to know what would be a good option, please feel free to leave a comment. It said something about brothers and sisters in Christ who would be suffering from health ailments like me in a certain way, when shopping will be forbidden without the Vicky status. And it said Vicky status absolutely required my loves to move freely out and about in society. And he said I could share this part. So it was talking about oil for anything to do with the skin, like if your skin is broken or needing to be healed. And I have heard I heard Elizabeth Marie talk about coconut oil. So we do have some of that, but I don't really know what the other. Coconut oil doesn't really seem to me to be what he was talking about. Something with herbs or some kind of plants. So if you happen to know what oil that would be, please let me know. That would be great. Here we go. This is from the 17th. And this is right after the thing about buying the oil. And I have a request to speak a bit slower, and that is from my Southern culture, so I will try to do that for our non-native English speakers who come to this channel. And by the way, someone said something about promoting the channel. Honestly, I shouldn't talk too much about it, but I'm pretty sure some of the numbers have been manipulated in past times on my channel, so I'm not worried too much about the numbers. I'm just, when God says something's going to happen, then I'm going to trust Him even if it doesn't look like in the physical realm that it's happening, if that makes sense. Yes, dear one, you can share this bit, for some of the Americans, cowboys and cowgirls included, are shaken in their boots about the prophecies and bombs about to land on their heads in their country. Dear ones, have you pressed in with I am? Are you sure? Do you know that you know that you know you are in the right location, right place, right country? Then that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, and just trust I am to guide you through this time, my loves. Some of you suck at asking I am questions. However, and it's time, count 'em time, to ask me a few more specific to your situation questions, saints, like, how many items should I be buying? How much of this? What about my kids? What do your kids love to eat, my dears? My sparrow is asking me, I am, for all types of help in this hour, and her stash has propped up from not 1, but count 'em 2 years of storage as her goal. But that is specific to her, heavy with their New World Order rules in Vienna. Poor Austrians like lemmings to the slaughter. Scared of the unvickied already, and that sentiment won't go away, despite their quick and dirty reprieve from mass society hour. Yeah, so side note, just recently at the end of February or March, in Vienna, could go on the U-Bahn finally. I'm sorry, I'm wanting to speak German. The things you can ride around the city for free, we can do without a mask at the moment. But it is true. I can see people's fear. You can see the fear in people's faces still, like, are we allowed to be doing this? All right, back to the message. Yo, my dudes and dudettes, keep it 100 with one another as time, count 'em time, to treat one another with true respect draws near. For too many, much more shenanigans, gossip, backbiting, and killing people's spirits or ambitions with barbs for words, and you might accidentally land yourself in hell. And takes all these things, silly doings of yours. Oops, it was a mistake. Careful with that shizen, my loves, for I can see straight into your hearts, as my sparrow and my word pointed out. So don't deceive yourselves, dear ones, in this late hour, what you are on about, as the British like to say. And I perceive the Lord winking here. Yo, Dom, glad to see you've cooled your hot head on my sparrow, dear one, and it's truly me you are hot with, not her, so don't get it twisted. She don't know nothing, as the southern saying goes. Except at the very same time, she knows a lot, dear ones, hence the odd rigmarole in the fall, with her channel and odd words many of you remember, but too much said will land her smack dab in a big load of shiza and enough hints on that. She knows of the warnings she's given you, Dom, and time to straighten out some things with the great I am, for your time on this planet may very well be drawing to a close, sweet son of mine. Do you truly want to be my son? Keep it 100 with your listeners and your channel, and many, not just the Illuminati, will be watching your channel and website like a hawk due to these words of doom and gloom, prophetically speaking. Do not gloat, my witchy witches, for your time is also drawing to a close and soon on this planet, much like all humanity, all going the same way, direction. One direction, slipping into the ebb and flow of eternity like Dom and Chris's intro song. Very astute and in tune with the times you live in, for all listening to my little sparrow's voice, warbling her great and I am's view song to any and all who listen, my loves. Your propensity to stick around and listen to her channel may land you a few whops from time to time, but do not, in error, be afraid of those whops, my loves. For I discipline those I love, sweet ones. Be my sweethearts and take her. Oops, but they are not her words, but rather I am's words in her seriously, saints, for there's not much count 'em, none, time to lose, my loves. For time and eternity draw to a close, dear ones. Like my sparrow's life, she's no longer afraid of death, as many of you may have noticed. She rather longs for it in error at this time, for she has a few more prophecies from I am to fulfill in her own life, plus a young Boaz who has some things to see for himself by aligning himself with my sparrow. Check your sick and twisted thoughts, my young men. It's more than bodily speaking, for he has no idea the pain and suffering she has gone through in her life. Will be amazed to see I am's healing touch work its magic, so to speak, on her behalf. I am's light as a feather touch on her heart and soul through him. But enough on that, my loves. What are your hopes and dreams, sweethearts? What has I am not fulfilled in your lives that you long for righteously or unrighteously? Let's shake out all the trash in your thinking and hearts. Come before I am with a humble and contrite spirit, countenance, or perhaps angry. It's okay with I am at this point, my loves, for you have eternity with me to spend, some of you, and we need to clear the air between us, my loves. Be my loves and tell me the truth of your disappointing at times lives. Is it really a disappointment that the sad abuse, mishaps, untoward circumstances led you smack dab into a loving father's arms, like her? I am had to remind her today. Even, my loves, dying to know the private parts of her messages in error. My loves, you are in error to long for that. It is mostly a private matter between her and me, and her little, big ego at times spirit is floundering and failing at this very lonely for her March moment. So forgive her, my loves, her trespasses in your eyes, to not share all any more with a fickle, wants to hate her at times, for a Boaz, her A-word is still married, prophecy audience. Yes, she is still technically paper-wise speaking married, but her heart turned many months ago from the ogre of a man she lives with, his sorry A-word, sleeping on the couch since December, my loves, and a little hint of the awkwardness going down in their apartment. Nothing going down for many long months, if you catch my drift, my loves, just as you caught hers in past times in error, my loves. Yes, she was at that time, meaning I was at that time in error, back to the message, and humble enough to admit her faults to you and see if you would land an arrow of judgment on her, and many of you did at that time. But let's take the arrow back out of her heart and see her for what she truly is finally. A prophetess, Ruth of a woman, about to have a story similar to that lovely lady, if you catch my drift, my loves. So leave her be, and no more heavy on her, A-word, at times, commentary as to how she ought to be filing paperwork by now. No, my loves. I am told her many months ago, I, count 'em, me, myself, and I, would take care of the divorce, and I meant it, and I will do so. For he is of a manipulative, calculating demeanor that would make her life a living hell if he could in future times. For her future's and ego's sake, I am removing his terrible influence from her life once and for all, and the bowing down in awe of what I am has done in her life for such a divine move. Give her some credit for waiting so long on I am's move as she sits, waits, and cries to I am at times for release from a terrible marriage. Will be nothing to laugh at, dear saints. So the sentence was, the bowing down in awe of what I am has done in her life for such a divine move will be nothing to laugh at. Dear saints, be a dear to her for I am's sake, if not hers, at this time, and watch, wait, and see what plays out in her life. My Americans, who have no, count 'em none, patience at times to see prophecies fulfilled. The Israelites had to wait 40 years to see themselves, or their children at least, cross into the promised land, and my dear Sparrow has known of my promise to her for release for a little over a year now, and she is only just now getting antsy and ready to go berserk on my A-word from time to time, and I truly love her for it, saints, as I said before. And she will get hers, and some of you, but not all, may get yours if you keep it 100 with I am until you're relatively quick in the spiritual realm, but slow to some of you up-and-coming deaths. So just to explain that real quick, in general, this is just a side note. In general, the prophecies I receive and have received in the past years have come to pass within 1 to 2 years. So when he says fast or slow, it could be 1 to 2 years. To me, that would be fast in the way he speaks. Or it could be 7 years, 10 years. So in a human's view, obviously 10 years would be probably too fast for most people, but for some of you, that would be like a longer time. So when the Lord says fast and slow, it could be, he told me something that would be happening, and it's taking around 6 months for it to take place, and he said soon. It was like 4 months ago, and he said it would happen soon, and I know I have to wait at least 2 more months for this thing that I'm waiting for, not to do with what I mentioned today in the word, but 2 more months for something. And so he's saying soon, but soon for him was like 6 months, and I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm getting used to hearing you talk in this way, and I understand you a little bit more, but it can be frustrating if you're obviously wanting something to be rolling or happening for you. Okay, back to the message. All right, so he talked about upcoming deaths. So again, keep it 100 with each other, especially my sheep in the true churches. Not buildings, my loves, don't get it twisted, but rather pockets of believers spread throughout this sick in the head, literally, in a future not so long and coming up, zombie ready to attack and sick satanic commands society hour. It is truly a dangerous time you live in, saints. Do not wonder too much about the cryptic words in today's message. For if you stick to I am and don't let a certain thing get stuck wrongfully, scientifically, into your wonderful, despite the here and there illnesses created by I am's bodies, and I know you all are astute and catch my drift, saints, a target will be on your head, too, and it won't be long in coming, my dears. Stick to I am, and maybe this channel till it drops off into relative silence, like all I am's true saints channels will at some point. Truthers like Chris and Dom included in that sentiment. In this critical for humanity, so I'll go back to the sentence. It says, stick to I am, in this critical for humanity, will it survive? Hour. It will survive, my loves, in the form of the 1,000-year reign with Christ. So stop thinking, no, my silly ones, that a hybrid half-robot society is all that's necessary to survive. I perceive the Lord laughing at that point. How I am laughs at your reasoning, you nitwit, at times Satanists, some atheists included in that sentence. Okay, love you all truly listening to these words and not just here to bark her into silence. Shame on you for that, claims to be a saint lady, But is she a lady at all for such sentiments? But I digress, and bid you all farewell finally for today. And as usual, I will share the ending here. Father, Son, of course, the great I Am, which includes the wonderful Counselor, Holy Spirit conduit. Yeah, again, the words today I know are heavy-hitting, but because they are so heavy-hitting and because of who's listening on this channel, it's really better I don't do much commentary. So as many wise people say at this time, take it to the Lord and pray, and the Lord can reveal mysteries to you if you are so interested. When people talk about stuff that sounds crazy, that's when it's time to turn to the Lord and figure out what's real and what's not. And He's the one that can guide us into all truth. And Jesus Christ is truth. So when we base everything on Him and then let Him enter our hearts and reveal truth to us through dreams or a whisper to our soul, that's how it used to be for me, just whispers, not actual words, then we can be guided into the correct way, even if you find yourself on a lonely path. Remember, if you direct your heart on the right path and stretch out your hands to Him, if sin is in your hand, put it far from you, and do not let wrongdoing dwell in your tents. Then indeed you can lift up your face to Him without moral defect, and you will be firmly established and secure and not fear. And you will forget your trouble. You will remember it as water under the bridge. And your life will be brighter than the noonday. Darkness will be like the morning. Then you will trust with confidence, because there is hope. You will look around you and rest securely. You will lie down with no one to frighten you, and many will entreat and seek your favor. God bless you.